Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:07 this Monday, 24th day of March. Thanks for letting us help you get your morning started. Mornings are very important, you know, Julie Gunlock. Morning is so incredibly important to setting yourself on the right path to be productive and effective, and I think we're a big part of that for so many people. You don't agree?
I'm sorry, my headset wasn't working. Now it is. I'm sorry for
You
that
didn't hear a
awkward
damn
pause.
thing I said.
Wait. It's going to be a morning.
We're off to a great start. It's 7:05. Joe DeGeneva will be here. At 8:05, Gary Higgins, member of the House of Delegates in Virginia. At 8:35, Christian Toto to tell us just how bad Snow White was. Actually, Christian seemed to enjoy it, which is
Yeah, we'll get into
disturbing.
that. Why does he hate America?
Well, it's about expectations. Like, if you go in assuming a movie is going to be awful, I think you end up, like, for instance, I went into Wicked assuming it was going to let me down, and it didn't, actually.
Yeah, we
there were
both
a couple
liked
of
it.
couple
We
of
both
issues
liked
I had with
Yeah.
it. Yeah, exactly. So, but I am not.
I'm
Are you
still
going
not
to see?
seeing it.
I'll wait
No.
for it. I'll see it when it streams. I'll see it. I
I
feel
will
like
see
I've
it when
seen
it's like
enough from
free
Snow White.
on TMZ or something or whatever.
There you go.
Yeah.
TMZ. Really?
No, not TMZ. Wait, TNT. TNT? Turner Broadcast. Whatever.
As you know,
HBO.
we're deporting illegal immigrants here on this country. Yes, we're deporting illegal immigrants here in this country. And, there's one flight that's really sort of freaking everybody out, and that was the alleged Venezuelan gang members that the DHS rounded up, sent down to El Salvador. And, of course, the judge is upset because the planes didn't turn around midair because he's a judge, damn it, and he can command planes to turn around over international waters in midair to come home because of illegal immigrants that he thinks shouldn't be deported, which is a little bit of hubris there, I think, from the judge. That said, everyone's focusing on that and not focusing on the reality of, wait a second, why were they being flown to El Salvador if they're Venezuelan? Mm-hmm. Now, we pointed it out on day one, something that I think is critically important to the entire narrative about these illegal immigrants, which was that their own home country didn't want them. That's the reason they were sent to El Salvador, because Venezuela refused to take back their own citizens who had left that country and come here illegally. And why did they refuse to take them? Because they're criminals, because they're gang members, they're murderers. They'd much prefer to send them here. In fact, there's some say that they sent them here deliberately and did this on purpose. Well, it was announced late yesterday that deportation flights to Venezuela will now resume. There have been weeks of a standoff here, but as of yesterday, the flights resumed. The flight carrying 199 illegal aliens, including members of the Venezuela gang, Tren de Aragua, were sent to Venezuela yesterday, according to the Department of Homeland Security. The Trump administration vowed to strike a deal with Venezuelan government to accept flights carrying deportees from the United States, but has been limited at the regularity of the transfers after President Nicolas Maduro, he's not really the president though, right? Didn't he steal the election?
Yes.
Halted the flights earlier in the month. Only 4 flights being received by the Venezuelan government since Trump was sworn into office. That's from Fox News writing it up, but it's kind of left out of a lot of these stories. Yeah. But I'm seeing this as a trend, Julie. Believe it or not, the media is not telling the American people the whole truth.
Oh, you're kidding. No.
About many things in the Trump. I know. It's almost like they're shameless liars.
Didn't you write a book about this? There we go.
I wrote a book with that exact title, actually.
You did? How neat.
So here's a headline. Donald Trump is revoking legal status of 530,000 Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. All legal immigrants. All right, now hold on a minute. Does that sound right? On the face of it, does that sound correct? That
Maybe.
the Trump administration, you're a legal immigrant, you came here legally,
no.
and with a stroke of his pen, he's revoking 530,000
No, but it makes a
people's
really
ability
nice
to
headline, doesn't it, Larry? Doesn't sound at all
It sure
plausible,
does.
but it sure makes a nice headline.
Yeah. There's a word missing from the headline. Let me read it again. Donald Trump is revoking legal status for 530,000 Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, Venezuelans. The word that's being omitted is temporary. They had temporary legal status. Donald Trump is revoking temporary legal status for 530,000 Cubans. So in other words, they came here en masse. Some of them actually were flown here by the Biden administration and resettled in various parts of the country, and they were given temporary legal status. Now, do we need to define the word temporary for people in the media so that they know?
Apparently.
It's that there seems to be a reading comprehension problem for people who get journalism degrees.
Or they consider those words optional. Right? We don't need to include them in the headline.
Oh, well, sure.
We don't want to
technically temporary.
We don't want to confuse people with too many words.
But it gets even better than that. Let me give you another headline.
Yeah.
This one's from CBS News.
It's even better.
U.S. won't extend legal status for 530,000 migrants who arrived under Biden program. Okay, so number one, once again, this headline does not include the word temporary.
Right.
That would be the aforementioned Biden program, right? But also I want to point out two other items about this headline, which is fascinating. Number one, U.S. won't extend legal status.
Yeah.
Not Trump.
Right.
Not Trump. See, all the headlines that you see today about this is Trump's done this and Trump's done that. This one doesn't say Trump. This says U.S. Why? Well, that brings us to the other point I wanted to say. This is dated October 4th, 2024.
Right. Who was president then?
But yes, thank you. So let's just rebuild this story now.
Right.
About 530,000 temporary legal migrants who entered this country from Nicaragua, Cuba, Honduras, etc. In October, under President Biden, the Biden administration chose to end the temporary legal status for them.
There we go.
Back then, the headline said U.S. won't extend legal status. Not Biden is doing this.
Right.
Now the Trump administration, after coming in, has affirmed that decision that was made under President Biden. It is now going forward, and now the headlines are Trump is revoking legal status for 530,000 migrants. How dare he? He can't do this. This is a constitutional crisis. So there you go. There's your media for you. It was temporary status. Biden revoked it while he was still president, and Trump is now affirming the policy. And there it is. That's all you need to know.
It is the perfect media story right there. That you covered this type of thing in your book. I mean, when Biden does it, perfectly fine. When Trump does it, it's separating families, tears. You get it.
By the way, real fast, as we keep getting these headlines after headlines after headlines about how horrible the deportation policy is and how terrible it is that Tom Homan and Kristi Noem and President Trump are actually fulfilling their campaign promise to secure the border and deport people in the country illegally. Quick listen, cut 10 here. CNN once again did a poll about this policy.
63%, according to the latest Fox News poll, say that they favor deporting those immigrants. So that's a pretty high number. Can you square that with what we just heard from Priscilla's reporting?
Yeah, I think that obviously.
Could you square that with how the rest of the people here who work at CNN feel about this? All the people in our green room and the people in our production team, 63% of Americans favor this, but that makes no sense compared to all the people I talk to every day when I wake up in Bethesda. Dana Bash. It's 6:15. WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the fives.
WMAL, making sense of the news.
I reached a terrifying and sudden realization, Julie Gunlock. Over the, I'm sorry, are your earphones working?
Yes, I'm
Just
here.
Make sure you can
I'm
hear
here.
Me. I had it's fun when our radio program with the two of us involves us actually being able to hear each other, isn't it?
Okay, all right. It was a little. It was a little hiccup. All right.
I Meredith and I sort of looked at each other on Sunday. And we both reached, because we were talking about certain things in our lives and our families, and we reached the realization at the same time that 6 weeks from now,
Yes.
our daughter will be married.
Oh.
We are 6 weeks away from the wedding day, and it is freaking everybody out, me especially.
Oh.
And so you can just imagine how Jeff Bezos feels, because he is now apparently sending out invitations for his upcoming wedding, and it's going to be very similar, I think.
Yes, I'm sure it'll be exactly the same. Except your daughter's going to wear clothes to her wedding.
Jeff Bezos and his fiancée, Lauren Sanchez, who is best known for wearing nothing but a bra to the
charming,
presidential inauguration.
classy.
Certainly caught the attention of Mark Zuckerberg, amongst others.
So awkward.
We are told that invitations have now gone out. They have been engaged for 2 years, according to New York Post, page 6. And the wedding is set to take place in Venice sometime over the summer, we're told. Have you gotten your invitation yet for this one?
Must be lost.
To look into that. Jeff Bezos, 61 years old, proposed to Ms. Sanchez in May of 2023 after 5 years of dating.
Boy.
Wait a second. Wasn't he still married at the time?
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
5 years of dating
Yes,
and then
he
an
was.
engagement. Boy, that tells you something.
5 years of dating and then 2 years of engagement. And I assure you he had another wife at the time. She was a local news reporter out in Los Angeles. She got a real good divorce settlement.
She did. And now all she does is give away to left-wing activist groups.
Of course.
Yeah.
The buzz was that the wedding would be in June on their $500 million yacht off the coast of Italy. We'll see if that continues to be the plan here. Bezos and Sanchez had an engagement party on their mega yacht in Positano, Italy in August of 2023. I feel tawdry just reading
I
this.
know.
The guests included Bill Gates, Ari Emanuel, that would be Rahm Emanuel's super agent brother who was immortalized in the series Entourage. Leonardo DiCaprio.
And by the way, every time I see Marky Mark doing the prayer app, what is it called?
The Hallow.
The Hallow. Every time, because
Hallow.
my husband and I used to watch Entourage, and every time I see him doing a Hallow, I'm like, I can't get Entourage out, because it was based on his life, his early 20s in Hollywood. Anyway, sorry, moving on. Leonardo
Bill Gates, Ari
DiCaprio.
Emanuel, Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield. He got 2 of the 3 Spider-Men there.
Exactly.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Why would you have both actors who played Spider-Man at your wedding?
Well,
that's
those
gotta be
three
a
are
weird
kind
fetish.
of those 3 are kind of good friends. Yuck.
Queen of Jordan, Rania Al Abdullah, and Kris Jenner. I love the chat.
God.
One of these do not belong to the other.
No kidding.
That was Kris Jenner doing there. So there you go. I have not gotten my invitation. If we do, though, we will tell you about it after the fact. You don't want to be tacky and let everyone know, hey, guess where I'm going this weekend.
Right. You don't want to be tacky going to that wedding. Okay, yeah. Oof. Can you imagine?
Yeah, my daughter's wedding is going to be a little more subtle than this, a little, and not quite as expensive. Although it feels like it. It feels like I'm paying for
I am
hundreds
so
of
glad I
people
have
to go to a
boys.
yacht in
All
Venice.
boys.
Oh, gosh. It's 6:22.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:36 now this Monday morning. Thanks for tuning in here to O'Connor and Company, live from your nation's capital. Coming up at 7:05, Joe DeGenova will be our guest. At 8:05, Gary Higgins, member of the Virginia House of Delegates. And then at 8:35, Christian Toto, who covers films in Hollywood. He's got some updates on the Snow White disaster out of the House of Mouse. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock.
Good morning.
Morning, Julie. Let's talk about Snow White, shall we?
Let's do.
Yeah. It just doesn't sound right, does it?
Mm-mm.
All the music sounds like it's in a minor key. The new songs sound okay, but just a little bit off.
Just sounds like it's actually going to be a horror movie. right? Like, when she says that.
Well, there isn't
as you work, but like you say, that minor key. It's weird.
Yeah. I was scared of Snow White when I first saw it when I was a child. The witch is very scary.
She is.
Very scary.
Yeah.
There's something and I have seen the transformation scene redone here with Gal Gadot and the apple, but of course much of it is CGI and it's not nearly as scary as animated. I saw somebody who is now an animator said that he and a bunch of colleagues sat and watched the original 1938?
Yeah.
Watched the original classic, the first full-length color animated feature film that everyone told Walt Disney he would go bankrupt. So, what are you kidding? Nobody wants to sit and watch a full-length cartoon. You're going to go bankrupt. Do you know, this is a great, I used to work at Disneyland when I was a teenager. I grew up in Southern California. I found Walt Disney to be an incredibly iconic and inspirational figure. Do you know how many times in his career everyone around him, his family members, his close business associates, his friends, all told him he was a fool?
Yeah.
That he was crazy, that he was going to lose everything, that he was going to send his family to the poorhouse, that he would go bankrupt. When he did the first sound animated cartoon, they said he was crazy. No one cares. No one wants to hear sound from a cartoon. When he did the first color animated cartoon, when he did the first full-length cartoon, when he put together the idea of creating an amusement park where families could go and it would be clean and wholesome and family friendly, and he borrowed against his home like multiple times. He leveraged everything to buy an orange grove in Orange County, California, in Anaheim. It's like nobody ever wants to go down there. He risked it all because the man had a dream and he built an empire. And it's such a great lesson that those around you that tell you, "Oh no, don't do that. That's risky. You got to take the safe choice. You're gonna make a bad decision, and now your kids aren't going to be able to." No, you follow your dream, unless, of course, you're an internet influencer and you take money to tell us that welfare stamps shouldn't go to Coca-Cola or something like that. That's stupid. Don't be an influencer. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like it's amazing when you look at the original choices Walt Disney made. I went off on a little tangent there.
Yeah, you were saying the animators were watching the original film. What were you going to say?
The animators were watching the original one.
I'm here to bring you back.
And one of them turned to the other and they said, how much would it cost to make this movie today? 100% by hand. Every cell drawn by hand by a human being animator. The coloring by hand, right? You look at an animated film in the old days before computer graphics, every single image had to be hand painted and done for the characters, at least. The backgrounds were static. And the other animator turned to him and said, how much would it cost? That's not even the biggest problem. I don't think any of us would know how to do this.
Right. This is not an art that's been passed on. This is not something
it's dead.
It's dead. Yeah.
It is a dead art form.
And I will tell you, this little star, Rachel Ziegler, is her name Rachel Ziegler? When she said she so disdainfully described the original 1930s version,
of it.
The 37 original, saying so it's weird. There's that famous quote, and she said, this is a girl who was her romance is
well, we can listen to it.
Do
we have it. Cut 18.
Excellent.
Here's the actress from Snow White back a year ago.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage.
Ugh.
What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign. Yeah.
There is another part of that where
there
you
is
said,
another part where she says the prince was
her.
stalking her, and then she goes, weird. But just this sort of just nastiness and this dismissal of the original 37 film, which was groundbreaking, history making, and required so much intense work. was really gross. And again, I think, she falls into that generational problem of not appreciating what previous generations did, and how incredibly beautiful that film was. Just no appreciation for that was, I think, what has really, look, the woke stuff, the woke stuff and the woke movie line, and the fact that they originally had sort of intersectionality dwarves, and then they had to reshoot it because it didn't test well. Like, all of those problems are a problem, but ultimately people are really put off by that attitude.
Yeah, I just showed more love and reverence and admiration for Walt Disney in the original film than the actual star ever did. That's not a good way to promote the movie. They shut her up eventually, took her off the stage. Also, she had political conflicts with Gal Gadot over the October 7th massacre. Yeah. Apparently, the actress who plays Snow White is on the side of the terrorists.
Yes, she absolutely is.
Where Gal Gadot actually feels some sadness and empathy for the victims of that terror attack. It ended up grossing this weekend $43 million, which is pathetic. They needed over $150 million to be on track to recoup their $250 million budget. Not even close. It's an absolute, complete, and total dumpster fire. It is, in fact, the worst live-action remake of any of the Disney live-action remakes. Lion King, by the way, they did a live-action CGI remake of that. It got terrible reviews. It grossed $1.6 billion worldwide. So
just stop seeing them remakes. Seriously, if you're save some money, like, watch the originals. It's much better.
Or if you're going to remake it with love and reverence in terms of to what made it so great in the first place.
Not possible anymore.
But you're right. And by the way, when you look at how people are analyzing, I have more to say about this. We'll carry this forward because it was a big story this weekend. It's politics, it's pop culture, it's the stuff I like to talk about. So we'll continue this conversation about Snow White in a moment.
WMAL, making sense of world events, because those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Download the WMAL app to stream us for free.
Told me before that your version of Snow White is different, and it's more of a 2022 version of Snow White. What did you mean by that?
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story. With a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
She's charming.
Yeah, she's adorable. I mean, I love how they act that romance, true love, a man.
So dated.
A man who treats you kindly, wants to take care of you, wants to marry you, make you fully a part of your life, and again, walk you down the aisle. Yes, what a pig. What a stalker. I mean,
so you go beyond that, which is so your big star is promoting the movie and trashing the storyline, the thing that everyone loved about the original before you even released the live action. Then takes the side of the terrorists on October 7th. Yes. Then after the election, put out a post raising her middle finger, literally raising her middle finger on Instagram to Americans who voted for Donald Trump, saying they should know no peace. And yet when you hear news reports about Americans who felt repelled by her and repelled by Snow White, and what we've learned they put into the storyline, where it really became sort of a socialist class war against the evil queen, that she was stealing their means of production. It was like Karl Marx wrote the damn thing. They will all, I swear to you, I watched this coverage all weekend long. They all said there were controversies over the casting of Snow White because she wasn't Caucasian.
Right.
That as if everything about her and every objection to her being Snow White was because she was of Latino heritage, which, by the way, she's a pretty light-skinned Latina. The color of her skin, even though it is a little discordant that the character literally is named Snow White because her skin is snow is white, or white as snow.
They also changed that in the story. She was originally called Snow White because her. Also, what is wrong with her parents? Like, if my child was born on a snowy day, I wouldn't be like, I'm going to call him.
But it's offensive that everyone brings up that any concerns that anyone may have about this story and that we don't want to see it is because we're racist against her. Honestly, she was great in West Side Story. It's the least important or interesting thing about her racial makeup and the color of the skin. She's an ugly, ugly person because of the content of her character. 651.
Making sense of your world.
I can't believe this.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
And I am so with you.
Making sense of the news.